All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Friday to you. Yes, it is Friday. Oh, I know that makes me happy. That makes me real happy. One thing I do want to let you know, today is a pre-recorded episode again. Yes, it is. I understand. We are not live, but Friday, December 13th, Friday the 13th, all the information that you're hearing is current, up-to-date information. I'm just not doing it live. Hopefully, nothing massive breaks in between now and the airing of the episode. You never know, though. You never know. So no phone calls, no interaction with you, the listeners, today, unfortunately. But we do have a lot of things to talk about. And I promise not to pull a Devondre Campbell on you guys and just walk out mid-show. I promise I'm not going to do it. Anyway, we got a lot to go over today, ladies and gentlemen. We have some football, and more football. There's a lot of it going on. We are going to talk about the high school football playoffs that are still going on. 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A are all in the regional matchups going into tonight. I'm going to talk about both the east and west part of the stage, of the brackets, I should say. That way we kind of know exactly what's going on, who's remaining in these playoffs, and what to expect. We have some good teams remaining, some schools in our area that have the ability to hear our broadcasts are going to be in action tonight. We're also going to go over a little bit of college football stuff. I want to talk Heisman. I want to talk the 2024 Heisman. The Heisman's going to be announced tomorrow, by the way. December 14th, Saturday. Who do you guys think is going to win the Heisman? I know who I think it should be. I know who a lot of people think are going to win the Heisman. But I'll tell you what. They're going to get it wrong. They're going to get it wrong. And I'm going to go over why. Okay, so we'll talk about tomorrow's Heisman Trophy is going to be, tomorrow the Heisman Trophy is going to be handed out. Your nominees this year, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Dylan Gabriel, and Ashton Genty. Big one that stands out there, Cam Ward. He is the only one not in the 2024 college football playoff, as Miami lost 2 of their last 3 to basically eliminate themselves. So we're going to talk about some of the awards that were given out yesterday and why I think it's just a mess. It is. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. We're also going to go over Thursday Night Football last night. A lot of playoff implications there. The 49ers. Sorry, guys, but your season may be over. May be over. We also have a lot of football coming up this weekend. We do have bowl games. Army-Navy. Now, that's not a bowl game. But at 3 o'clock, Army-Navy at Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland. The tradition of the Army-Navy game. Army's ranked this time around 22nd in the country, according to the College Football Playoff Committee. And then you have Navy, who had a good year at 8-3. They are unranked, though. Not only that, but on Saturday, they've kind of taken the spotlight off of Army-Navy a little bit. We have the Cricket Celebration Bowl at 12 o'clock on Saturday. It's going to be Jackson State and South Carolina State. And then at 9 o'clock, South Alabama and Western Michigan will compete in the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. Then Sunday and Monday, we have no bowl games, and Tuesday starts a pretty much just a fat load of college football bowl games, which also next week will include the college football first round playoffs. For the first time ever, we have a 12-team playoff. The bracket is finalized. We know who's in, we know who's out. Alabama getting knocked out, the first team out. SMU, the last team in. So next Saturday, SMU will play Penn State, Clemson will play Texas, and then Tennessee will play Ohio State. Lots of good games on tap. So we'll just talk a little college football today. I do want to get into the awards that were given out last night. Now, no, they were not the Heisman Award, but they were awards for, best wide receiver, all those kind of things. So we'll talk a little bit about that in another segment. Also on the docket for the day is some news, just some general news, more Major League Baseball news for you. Yeah. It is not the time of year for baseball. Winter meetings are going on, but we do have trades, we have signings, so I want to talk a little bit about that, as well as a bunch of other news that's going on. Lindsey Vonn is going to be entering the World Cup ski races in Switzerland at 40 years old. How about that? Apparently, Lindsey Vonn wants to make one more Olympic run. Whew, man, we'll see. 40 years old, definitely not a typical age for an Olympian, but if anybody could do it, I wouldn't put it past her. Definitely a possibility. So we got a good show on tap for you here today. We're going to start things off with high school football. The high school football playoffs are still going on, but we are right at the end. Yeah, it's wrapping up. So let's talk about these regional games in the 1A bracket, the 2A bracket, the 3A bracket, and the 4A bracket. We're just going to start the conversation real quick with that 1A bracket as we are getting close to that first commercial break of the day. On the west side of the state, close to home, it's Corvian Community High School, the 5 seed, playing Mountain Heritage High School, the 2 seed. Winner moves on to a state championship. Now, remember, Corvian Community, they beat the 1 seed. Mountain Heritage is the 2 seed, so still some pretty high-ranked teams here in the regional semifinal matchup. Now, on the other side of the state, you have another 2 teams that are really good in the seedings. Tarboro High School, the 1 seed in the East, and Wilson Prep, the 3 seed in the East. That is who is going to be playing. The winners will face off each other in the state championship game next weekend. We got a lot more to cover for you here today on the scoreboard, so don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot going on. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? You're listening to the Scoreboard. No phone calls today. This episode was recorded at an earlier time. It is live. Well, it is not live, but it is current. So everything we talk about is up to date, at least. It just so happens that I'm not in studio at the time that it's being broadcast. We're going to finish talking about high school football playoffs, and then we're going to turn our attention to college football. And I'm looking through some of these awards here. Man. I have a lot to say about it. I do. Anyway, back to high school football. We got through talking about the 1A bracket. Corvian Community, Mountain Heritage High School, Tarboro High School, Wilson Prep. Winners will face each other in the state championship game. Moving on to the 2A bracket in the east side of the state, away from home. It's Northeastern High School versus Whiteville High School. Interesting thing about this matchup is it is a 1 versus a 2. And I believe it is the only matchup. Well, I'm sorry. It's one of 2 matchups in the regionals that are a 1 seed versus a 2 seed. Everyone else had an upset along the way to get to where we are, including in this 2A bracket, the west side of the state. Number 9, Brevard High School, who we talked about it last week. They have been dominating things. They have scored no less than 37 points in the playoffs. Every time they've taken the field, they scored at least 37 in the playoffs. But now in the regionals, they play number 3, Monroe High School, who hasn't been all that bad either. The lowest point total that they've put up in these playoffs is 41. So a few high-flying offenses going at it here on the west side of the state in order to go compete for a state championship game. Moving on from the 2A, it's the 3A bracket, and we're going to start closer to home because we do have a school within our listening area that is competing in the regionals for the second year in a row, might I add. Hickory High School. Yeah, Hickory High School, still undefeated this year, the reigning 3A state champions. That's a good program right there. And they are playing West Charlotte, the 8 seed, for a chance to go play at the state title game. Now, the east side of the state has a pretty high seed in 71st High School, the second-ranked team. But they also have a team that's gotten through a couple of upsets to get where they are, and that's Jacksonville High School, which is the 12th ranked team or the 12th seeded team in these playoffs. Now, Jacksonville has only lost 1 game this year, and it was a conference game earlier in the year. So don't let that 12 seed fool you. It's still a very good program. They are a 12 seed. They go up against 71st High School, the 2 seed. Last but not least, let's go into the 4A bracket, the big schools, the big dogs around town. Number 1, Grimsley High School, with Gatorade, North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year on that squad. Grimsley has not lost a single game this year. Yep. You heard me correctly. They have not lost yet this year. They are led by junior quarterback Fazian Brandon, who is the Gatorade NC Player of the Year. Grimsley High School's competition this weekend, it's going to be a good one for them. They play number 2, Weddington High School. So this is the second side of the bracket. To go chalk, it's a 1 versus a 2. That's what you expect. Or not expect, but that is what, the most common thing would be if, the best team always wins. It'd be the 1 versus the 2. Doesn't always happen that way. So Grimsley and Weddington will play each other on the west side of the state. And on the east side, Rollsville High School, the 5 seed, plays Cardinal Gibbons, the 2 seed. You should be familiar with those schools. Now, I know they're not in our area and we don't talk about them all that much, but they've been here before. So the winners will go play for a state title game. That is your high school football update for you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have one more week of it. We got today and we got next Friday. Then that's it. High school football is donezo until next season. Let's move on. I want to get into college football and these awards. They're ridiculous. They're absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand. I just don't understand. That's all. That's all you need to know. I don't understand. The Maxwell Award for Outstanding Player went to Ashton Genty. The Walter Camp Award for Player of the Year went to Travis Hunter. Interesting. Running Back Award obviously went to Genty as well. Here's an interesting one for you. The Fred Biletnikoff Award was Travis Hunter. Now, the Fred Biletnikoff Award is for Outstanding Receiver. Travis Hunter won the award. His stat line is as follows: 92 catches, 1,100 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Nick Nash, wide receiver for San Jose State. 104 receptions, 1,382 yards, 16 touchdowns. Huh? How did Nick Nash not win Receiver of the Year, but Travis Hunter did? Can somebody explain that one to me? Because it don't make no sense. It just does not make sense. There's other things that don't make sense to me. Like, how about this one? And it's between Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty. It's things that don't make sense between the two of them. The Lombardi Award for the nation's top player went to Kevin Banks Jr. of Texas. The most outstanding player is Ashton Jeanty, and the player of the year is Travis Hunter. What in the world is the difference between those awards? I know it's who votes on the awards, but still, a lot of these awards are extremely redundant. There's 2 Defensive Player of the Year's awards, so you know. 2 of them. Travis Hunter won one of the Defensive Player of the Year awards, but he didn't win the Jim Thorpe Award, which is for Outstanding Defensive Back. I would assume that if you're the Defensive Player of the Year, you're the most outstanding defensive back as well. I don't understand these. I just don't. I don't get it. Here's one. Most versatile player. Who do you think won the most versatile player? Huh? Obviously, Travis Hunter for the 2nd year in a row. Yeah, that wasn't a surprise. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. These awards, they're redundant. It's time to get rid of some of them. Because now we got the Heisman Memorial Trophy for Outstanding Player. We just gave away the Maxwell Award for Outstanding Player. It was Ashton Jeanty. So my question is, who should win the Heisman? I think it should be Ashton Jeanty, personally. I don't think it should be Travis Hunter, because I think the biggest thing that Travis Hunter has going for him is the amount of snaps that he played, right? Like, he played both sides of the ball. Everybody knows that now. And he's getting a lot of credit for it. But he wasn't the Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't lead the NCAA in receiving. There was a receiver that was better than him that should have won the Best Receiver Award. And you have Ashton Jeanty, who was putting out insane numbers for the entire season. I mean, he never slowed down. And Boise State played competition in the Mountain West, right? We know that, and you hear, oh, they didn't play anyone. They're in the Mountain West, whatever. Well, 2nd game of the year for Boise State, they played Oregon. Ended up being the number 1 team in the country. Final score in that one, in case you remember, 37-34. Boise State gave them a run for their money. In this game, Ashton Jeanty, 25 carries, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he put up a good performance against the number 1 team in the nation. Now, Travis Hunter at Colorado played, I'd say, similar competition. Only 1 ranked team in there. It was Kansas State, and they lost 31-28. Within that game, by the way, in case you were wondering, Travis Hunter against, at the time, number 18 Kansas State. 3 catches, 26 yards, no touchdowns. Defensively, 1 solo tackle, 1 assisted tackle. Seems like he was a no-show. He didn't even show up to the game. He barely got any stats. I have to take that into consideration, that he had a no-show against a ranked team, whereas Ashton Jeanty put up almost 200 yards against Oregon. I'm sorry, but the Heisman should not be Travis Hunter. I know it's awesome that he plays both sides of the ball. It's great. But Ashton Jeanty had the best season in college football. 2,400 yards, 3 yards shy of 2,500 yards, and 29 rushing touchdowns on the year. That should be your Heisman right there. Hang tight, everyone. We have a lot of content left to go over with you here on the Scoreboard. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Happy Friday again, everyone. You're listening to the Scoreboard. Reminder, I'm not live in studio today. This episode is pre-recorded. Hopefully no big news breaking. Otherwise, we have to talk about it Monday. That's fine. We've gone over quite a bit already. Talking about some football, high school football playoffs, the regional matchups taking place later on today. Winners of those regional matchups go to play for a state title game. It's right around the corner. We're ready to crown some champions. And then also last segment, we got into some college football discussion. The Heisman Trophy is going to be handed out this weekend. I'll tell you what, my vote would go for Ashton Jeanty. I already told you why. He had the best year in college football. The best year in college football. By far. And you just have to look at the stats to see what I mean. If you go game by game for Ashton Jeanty and look at his rushing yards, there was not a single game that he did not show up. I would read it to you, but you also have to keep in mind there's some games where he didn't even play in the second half because Boise State was winning. Like right here against Portland State. Now, I know Portland State, obviously not a great program. We don't really talk about them that much there. They lost 56-14 to Boise State. And Jeanty in that game only carried the ball 11 times, but he carried it for 127 yards on those 11 carries. Never broke 300 yards, though. Got close a couple of times, 267, 259. Never got to that 300 mark. Man, just think back to end of August, early September, when Ashton Jeanty in 2 games had 9 touchdowns. Yeah. 6 touchdowns in game 1 against Georgia Southern and 3 touchdowns in game 2 against Oregon. 3 touchdowns against Oregon and 192 yards. That is your Heisman right there. Not Mr. No-Show. And maybe that's unfair. Maybe it's a little unfair to Travis Hunter, but numbers don't lie. They don't. We're going to talk a little NFL action as we have a lot of games coming up this weekend and a lot of important games towards the playoffs. Now, you look at the standings and look at what happened last night between the Rams and the 49ers. The Rams put themselves in a better spot to make the playoffs, whereas the 49ers, they're not eliminated yet, but and it is not looking promising for those San Francisco 49ers. And not to mention, did you guys see Devondre Campbell apparently refused to play? He apparently walked to the locker room and that was it. He elected not to enter the game, even though they had linebackers dealing with injuries. The press conference afterward was so funny. He said he didn't want to play today. That was the coach, Kyle Shanahan, on what was said to him by Devondre Campbell. Now, we've seen this before in the NFL. We've seen teams have players that, they just kind of walk out. If anybody remembers Vontae Davis, a few years ago now, Vontae Davis at halftime retired. Like mid game. Team went in for halftime. They were about to go out for the second half, and he goes, you know what? I'm good here. I think I'm going to stay in the locker room and call it a career. That was the end of the career for Vontae Davis. Now, I'll tell you what, Devondre Campbell, he's not going to be a 49er anymore. Nope. Not at all. You do not refuse to go into a game and keep your job. It just it doesn't happen. So he's going to get cut. But that was the highlight of a horrible game. And we're back to terrible Thursday night football. Final score between the Rams and the 49ers, 12-6. Yeah, 12-6. There were no touchdowns scored. We got no touchdowns. All field goals. And a lot of punts. I mean, more punts than anybody ever needs to see in a football game. So it's safe to say I personally did not last the entire game. I turned that one off pretty early. You go into halftime and it was tied 3-3. And then the Rams kicked 3 field goals in the fourth quarter. 3 of them in the fourth quarter to win the game. Gosh. I really don't think that anything's going to happen to Thursday night football. The NFL makes too much money off of it. They own another day of the week doing that. Like there's nothing else going on Thursday nights. Now you'll have a little bit of college football action, but there's no marquee matchups on a Thursday night. The NFL owns that day. Just like there's no marquee sporting events on a Monday or a Sunday. That's why the NBA in-season cup final, the championship, is on a Tuesday. Because there's no football on a Tuesday. Now, we're in bowl season. There's going to be a few bowl games on a Tuesday coming up. But none of your blue bloods are going to be playing. When you look at the NCAA schedule for the bowl games, the Tuesday that the in-season cup championship game is, there is one bowl game. It's the Hawaii Bowl between South Florida and San Jose State. That's it, though. So the NBA is probably going to own that day. But it's time to get rid of Thursday night football. The product is not good. The teams don't have time to get ready. They don't have any time to rest. It's time to get rid of it. Now, it's not going to happen. Like I said, they make too much money off of owning another day of the week. But we have sat through way too many bad Thursday night games. And it doesn't help that the broadcast is Al Michaels, he's a legend. He's a Hall of Fame broadcaster, don't get me wrong. But it's time for Al Michaels to hang it up. Put the microphone away and say, you know what? I'm just going to be here and exist. We saw it a couple of weeks ago. I talked about this where he was saying on air, man, we need to get some action going so we can talk about something. Al, you're not supposed to say that, Al. We all know it's a bad game. You're supposed to entertain us while the game is bad. But yeah, that was a bad Thursday night game. So the Rams put themselves in a better spot to possibly make a playoff push here. The Rams now sitting at 8-6 on the year. Puts them a half game behind the Seahawks. We'll see what happens with the Seahawks this weekend. The Carolina Panthers are in action, 1 o'clock here at home in Bank of America Stadium. They'll be playing the Dallas Cowboys, who are 5-8, and the Panthers are 3-10. And I found this incredibly interesting. Just looking through some of the teams that are favored, what the betting lines are this weekend in the NFL. And I was looking at the Panthers and the Cowboys. As of right now, as of the recording of this episode, the Carolina Panthers are favored by 3 points to win. Yeah, they are the betting favorite to win this weekend. I mean, the Cowboys are not a good team, so I'm not too surprised, but it feels like, and I don't track it, you know, I don't go into the betting odds every single week and say, okay, who's the favorite this week? Because honestly, I don't bet that much, so I'm not considering it. I'm not looking at it. But it feels like it's been forever since the Panthers were favored in a game. Well, this Sunday at 1 o'clock, looks like they got a real chance to get it done. Vegas has them as the favorites to beat the Cowboys. Playoff push? Maybe. We'll see. Probably not. One more segment here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this. Final segment. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful day out there. Beautiful day. Gonna be a nice one. Hopefully it's a good weekend as well. We have a little bit of news that I want to go over. Some things that are breaking today. Some trades in Major League Baseball. Yeah, we have trades. That happens in the offseason. Breaking earlier today. The New York Yankees, they missed out on Juan Soto. I guess they're going to fill their roster out other ways, which makes sense. You know, we talked about it the other day. If you're one of these teams like the Red Sox, the Dodgers, and you were bidding on Juan Soto, and you were expecting to give one player $700 million over the course of 15 years, which is, you know, I think it came down to $51 million a year for Soto. I think that's how the numbers worked out. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. But you look at the vacancy that you have now with not signing that player, you have plenty of money to go sign other people. Fill out the roster. You know, you don't have to sign this one big name player. You can go sign 5 really good players now. And I think a lot of the teams that were involved in the Juan Soto sweepstakes are doing that right now. As we had a trade in MLB, the New York Yankees finalized a trade to acquire closer Devin Williams from the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Brewers. Wrong sport. My bad, guys. My bad. I'm reading ahead too much here. For Devin Williams, the New York Yankees give away their starter, Nestor Cortez, fan favorite. He was a fan favorite. He was a fan favorite until game 1 of the World Series, where the New York Yankees and manager Aaron Boone decided to put him into the game in extra innings with the bases loaded against Freddie Freeman, and he hadn't pitched in a month and a half, and guess what happened? He gave up a walk-off home run. Since his debut in 2019, here are Devin Williams' ranks among relievers with at least 200 innings pitched. He has a 1.83 ERA, which is second, 14.3 on his K per 9, which is third, his home run per 9, home run allowed per 9, 0.6. And his hits per 9 is 4.9, which is the best out of all relievers since 2019 with at least 200 innings pitched. That stat brought to you by Jeff Passan, who tweeted that out earlier today. You're going to see the Yankees make moves. It's going to happen. They lost the World Series. You're going to see the Dodgers make moves as well. They were trying to get Juan Soto, they didn't. The Red Sox, we've already seen a few of the moves that they've made. We talked about Garrett Crochet, the starting pitcher that they end up trading for. Still a lot of unsigned players and a lot of players that are going to get traded. It just happens in the offseason, you know. Some other things in the news. Get you some more breaking news for you. Odell Beckham Jr. is in the news. Yeah. I don't know if he's still considered good. Definitely not elite. Definitely not one of the best wide receivers in the league, which at one point he was. He's playing for the Miami Dolphins right now. And the Miami Dolphins have released wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., ending the veteran's tenure 4 weeks before the end of the season. The release was mutual. Beckham had missed both practices this week for what was described as personal reasons. And in lieu of that, he has now been released. I'm assuming that he went to the team and asked for his release, and it was granted. Here's one for you. This is a big story. The woman who in 2006 falsely accused 3 Duke University lacrosse players of raping her has admitted publicly that she fabricated the story. Yep. It's really sad. It's also sad that there's no consequences for false accusations like that. Here's the quote. She was on the Let's Talk with Kat podcast. Don't know which one that is. There's a million podcasts out there. And she said, quote, she made up a story that wasn't true about white players who attended a party where she was hired to perform as a stripper because she wanted validation from people and not from God. I testified falsely against them by saying that they, when they didn't, and that was wrong. How was it? Was it wrong? The former Duke players were declared innocent in 2007 after the story fell apart during legal scrutiny. And now it has been admitted, and it's out there that it was a lie. Insane to me. Just, what are you doing? Why? There should really be some consequences here. You cannot make false accusations like that. But that broke. That is new information for you. The Duke lacrosse players. 3 of them, by the way. More news for you guys throughout the NFL world. Also, a lot of NFL news. Jacksonville Jaguars tight end Evan Ingram is going to undergo surgery for a torn labrum in his left shoulder, and he's going to miss the rest of the season. Very unfortunate. One of the, not the best tight end, but a very good tight end in the NFL, and his season seems to be over. And the wide receiver, Hollywood Brown, is going to be returning to practice for the Kansas City Chiefs after an injury in August knocked him out of the lineup. This is not what the rest of the NFL wanted to see. The Chiefs getting more weapons. Not good. That is an offense that has been struggling. So any reinforcements that they can get is going to be great. Remember Rashee Rice? He injured his leg against the Chargers, and he's out for the season. You also have Xavier Worthy, who he was the first-round pick. They were hoping that he would help the passing game. Well, now getting a player back off of injury. And I'll tell you what, that is not what the rest of the NFL wants to see, because that is a good defense that Kansas City has. They got a really good defense. It's the reason that they are where they are right now. The defense is. Kansas City 12-1. Without that defense, they'd be in trouble, because you look at their schedule and you look at the results of some of their games and you're like, you guys are just sneaking by a lot of these games. And, well, it's because the defense is keeping them in it. Think about the most recent game against the Chargers, a walk-off field goal, 19-17 victory. The defense only gave up 17. Then they won 19-17 the week before, only giving up 17. 27 was there. I mean, they gave up 14 against the Broncos, 18 against the 49ers, 10 against the Chargers. So, this defense is what's driving the Chiefs right now. But we know from past years, Patrick Mahomes, he's going to make things happen in the playoffs. And now he's going to get another weapon back to help him do that. I know we were all looking forward to the possibility of a Lions-Bills Super Bowl, which, by the way, we have a possible Super Bowl preview. Bills-Lions, prime time, 4:30 on Sunday. That's going to be a good one. I don't know if it's going to be a Super Bowl preview anymore because the Chiefs, they're 12-1 and they're getting reinforcements. Now, I know one player isn't going to make a difference, but for an offense that is struggling the way they have been, that's going to be an interesting one. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. We're only a couple of weeks away from playoffs. 4 games remaining. 4 more games. And then we'll be in playoff football. Cannot wait. Let's go ahead and talk about some things that happened on this day in sports history. It was on this day in 2020 that Lewis Hamilton secured his 7th World Drivers' Championship trophy in Formula One for his 7th title. Tied a record in Formula One. On this day in 2022, Alex Ovechkin put a hat trick up, which gave him 800 career goals. He was the 3rd player ever to have 800 goals in his NFL or NHL career. And he's getting closer to Wayne Gretzky and breaking the all-time record for goals in an NHL career. Those are just a couple of things that happened on this day in sports history. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me this week. Had a lot of fun talking with you. When we come back on Monday, we're going to get to talk about a lot of state championship games that are going to be going on. We'll recap the NFL week and get you ready for some college football mayhem. Hope everybody enjoys the weekend. Getting closer to Christmas. Can't wait. Until Monday, I'll talk to you guys then. See ya.